All right. Well, welcome to a very general introduction to biology. And following along, we've been focusing on just some general scientific terms. Today, however, we're finally going to be talking about biology specific stuff. Okay, so kind of as we talk about science, what is the biological branch? What does that include? What are we going to be looking at maybe even throughout this course here as we're going? So, biology biology is the study of life. All right, so it is going to be covering all kinds of a huge spectrum of living things. I think biology is interesting because we have some of the largest organisms on Earth with the redwood trees, and some of the smallest with bacteria. Those would all fit in a biologist field to study there. There's estimates of 40 million species that could live on Earth. We have only discovered about 2 million of them so far, indicating that, hey, there's still a lot of species out there. Now, these species aren't, you know, large mammals that are running around that we haven't found yet, but insects and bacteria and funguses and those kind of things that we're still discovering. New fields of biology open up every year. Like I said, there's a huge, a broad canvas that biology is painted on. To become a high school biology teacher, I had to major in biology in college, and I took classes that were ecology, where we're studying huge, acres and acres of ecosystems, and then I took biology classes that were microbiology, and we were looking at um, organisms, well, a fraction of a millimeter in size underneath the microscope. And those all fit within the same, they're connected, which is I always liked looking at those things. So, if we're going to talk about biology being the study of life, it's important for us to define what life is. That is we feel like we have a pretty good understanding of it, but there are some things out on the edges where it's like, well, wait a minute, what is that? Is that living? Is that not living? Kind of thing. So, what are our characteristics of life? And we already have some things that kind of break these. So, characteristics of living things. All living things have cells. All right, that is will be one of the first units we go through is the cellular unit and the cell theory. So all living things that we know of are made of cells. All living things have organization. If you are a human, that means that you have organ systems like hearts and lungs and um, digestive tracts and nervous systems and those kind of things. But even if you're just a one-celled organism, you're going to have some parts in there that are responsible for um, taking care of things. It's not just random. All living things use energy. I should put behind this one there, they have a metabolism. Okay, so using energy is a metabolism. That is why you need to breathe, and that is why you need to eat, because you consume energy. We'll have a whole unit where we talk about why it is you need to breathe oxygen in order to tap into that energy use. Here might be a new vocab word for you. All living things maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis is a like an internal balance. So the most obvious example for humans is our temperature. Our bodies are around 98, 99 degrees Fahrenheit. We also have a balance of a blood glucose level, a pH level of a variety of different ion concentrations. So homeostasis is kind of a just a an internal balance is the best I have for you on that. All living things grow. Not that you need to be growing throughout your entire life, but the fact that you're capable of growth. All living things have the capability of reproducing, right? Sometimes it's um, complex sexual reproduction, like mammals and birds and whatnot. Other times it's simple, just asexual reproduction, where they just make a copy of themselves. All living things are evolving. We'll get into this later on, but your genes are the same, but our genes have changed over time. All right, we'll explain how this works. But as a population, populations evolve. Speaking of genes, wow, one slide too far here. Speaking of genes, Um, the last thing is all life that we know it has genetic material. Right? For the vast majority of it, it is DNA, is the genetic backbone of life there. So, real quick, is it alive? Here's a look at Frankenstein's monster. Um, there's a good trivia fact for you. That's not Frankenstein. That is the monster Dr. Frankenstein created. So, um, is it alive as we're going through here? A nice geological formation in um, southeast or southwest United States. Clearly, it is not alive. It is a rock. All right. It is, although it does look like it has some organization, it does not have a metabolism. It does not have genetic material. It doesn't have any of those things. This big bug, yes, insects are definitely alive. They reproduce. They um, grow. They eat. All of the above. Bacteria. So bacteria living inside of you, yes, they are alive. They have much smaller amounts of DNA, and to reproduce, they just kind of make copies of themselves, but they are 100% living material. Individual cells. Here's a look at a cell, definitely alive here. This nice waterfall. Even though water is moving, it changes sizes. It has different properties. Water, in fact, is not alive. It's required for life, but it itself is not a living being. The earth as a whole is full of all kinds of living things, but it is not itself alive. It is it's not making, baby earths out there and out in space. And then here's a look at a heart. It's always interesting when we look at body parts, and are body parts alive? Um, yes, we're going to talk about hearts and those kind of things because they're a part of us in biology. But is that its own organism? No, it's definitely not its own organism because it is dependent on you for its survival. If you take this heart out, it's going to die within, minutes without the proper blood, or within hours without the proper support from the ecosystem or from the organism that's hosting it. So, kind of wrapping things up here as we to apply it um, to maybe some things that you see in the news. We have a pretty good idea of life on Earth. When it gets to viruses and those kind of things, it gets a little sketchier. But um, I always think this is interesting as we look for life outside of Earth. We haven't found it yet. We haven't looked very far. Um, but we ask, like, what are we looking for? Like, mm, probably not looking for like an alien species that's sending us messages through space. We're probably looking for things that are pretty small, especially when we're looking for Mars. A big thing that we look for on Mars is water because life as we know it here on Earth is wet. Right? You guys are 70% water, and a lot of life follows that same kind of pattern there. So it makes sense that in Mars and other places, we're looking for um, water to start with, and then seeing what maybe fossils, bacteria, life there is around there. Some interesting other places on the solar system look for life. Europa is a moon of Jupiter, and there's actually more water on Europa than there is on Earth. It's underneath ice, and so it'd be interesting to go ice fishing on Europa someday. And then Titan is a moon of Saturn, and then Titan is, I'm gonna try not to mess this up. It's interesting because it actually has like lakes and rivers and ponds and all those things. The only difference is it's methane. It's liquid methane, I believe, that is running through there. So maybe someday we'll find some organisms that are living off of that as we, fly our space lander and detach a kayak out into the lakes of Titan to study its ecosystems there. So a little bit of an intro to biology for you guys today.